and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another podcast, guys. Thank you for tuning back in. It is the Eynon Brothers podcast, and we thank you guys again for tuning in. And we got a really good podcast for you guys. We got a lot of awesome stuff to talk about.
That's right. We were actually we were supposed to go on like a little adventure, if you will. We were going to go out to Santa Monica. The plan was to take the metro line out there. And because I don't know if you know, but recently they built a metro line that goes all the way down there to the 3rd Street Promenade.
I've never done it before.
We should have. I mean, look, here's how far we got. So here was the plan. My plan was to just not get in the car at all and to somehow get our butts over there.
Yeah, so just walk there.
We'll walk to the metro station, then we'll take the metro line all the way down to Santa Monica. So we get about...
Well, we first off, I woke up hungover as hell. And Mitchell's just like, yo, do you want to go to Santa Monica today? And I'm just like, that sounds like a fun day. Yeah. And then time just passes, and I'm like, okay, fine, I'm ready to go. But at this point, it's already, 1 o'clock?
It's probably like noon, but by the time we start walking, so what we had to do is we had to walk to the actual metro station, and it's about 3 blocks down, and you hang a right, and it's about another 2 blocks down.
And so you're like, oh, it's like a 9-minute walk. And I'm like, all right, cool.
Yeah, hey, you have to say that to get you walking, because didn't want to take the cars. I was like, anything but taking the cars. So we get the 3 main blocks down, and at this time, Tommy's foot's tapping out. We're stopping at a restaurant to eat. He's like, hey, my foot's kind of hurting. As we're eating, he's just
we both have our rainbow sandals on, and freaking...
we're going to Santa Monica. We got to fit in here now.
Yeah, so we both have our rainbow sandals on, and freaking... I
had a backpack on because I was sick.
By
and I was
0.9 miles, I'm just like, dude, my freaking foot is killing me.
Like, come on, man.
Never walked this far in
we're Eagle
rainbows.
Scouts. We're Eagle Scouts. We could have made that trek. It wasn't. It was probably a mile and a half, and I think it just, when you're walking through and having to go stop at a stop in a red light, and then there's freaking cars flying by, and you're like, God, this is so uncomfortable, But in walking through Bellflower, especially, you're just kind of. We got the 3 main streets down. We hung a right. We saw a restaurant. We felt like we needed to stop and eat and regain our HP at that point. So we're just like, okay, let's get some food. So we go in there, we get some food, and then by the time we're done eating and we pay the bill, we've already decided we're not going to Santa Monica.
Well, I'm just like, dude,
we're taking an Uber.
I was like, how much further do you think it is? Yeah. Just like another 10 minutes. I'm like, you told me it's gonna be 10 minutes from the station to the house. And I'm just like, at this point,
I lied a little bit.
My freaking foot was just killing me, dude. I've never walked that far in my life with my sandals.
You have, dude. I looked on this app I have. It's like the Metro app or whatever, and it says if you were to walk and if you were to only take those trains, how long it would take. And it was about a 50-minute walk. So the first 30 minutes we probably spent just going down the 3 boulevards.
If I had my Nikes on, dude, I would have been chilling. But I had my rainbows on that I hadn't worn in a while, and I was walking.
It was your foot that was bothering you? Dude, because honestly, like, if you just stuck it out and we just walked... little northbound, we got to that train station. The train runs alongside the 105. We would have gone down that metro station. We would have been done. That would have been all the work for the day.
For sure.
Because after that, it's just a straight train that goes down. Then we come back and we get picked up, or we Uber back because we don't need to walk.
And
back
we'll do the trip too. But
yeah. But and you're going down to like, because you're not really familiar with Santa Monica, but there's a lot of cool stuff out there. You got like, of course, like the pier and everything, and there's just like the promenade, which is just like everything is there. There's live
just a lot of artists.
There's artists, but you have mostly bands playing in a lot of stores, and you have like a lot of different foods and stuff like that you're not gonna out here. What do we got? Like Taqueria and like Taco Bell.
Yeah, nothing.
Yeah, that's about it. So it's eye candy out there, and a lot of the people, they look a little different, if you will, than at Bellflower. It's
what do you mean?
There's less homeless, if you will. But it's just like it's a cool city, man. It's a cool city to check out.
It was a fun start.
Yeah, it was a good start. And then, so what happened was...
this building exists?
So we didn't go to Santa Monica. By the time we got out of the restaurant, Tommy's ordering an Uber. We're heading off to a cigar lounge in Bellflower, one we actually went to previously for a man night. And it's called Bo's Cigar Lounge. We went over there. We probably made like 100 friends. But the best part was we were talking to this dude, because if you ever go to a cigar lounge, I don't know if you have, but it's mostly, older guys. And so we're just talking to this one guy at the front. And just this bearded guy, he's from Bellflower, and he was trying to tell me and Tommy that he was a lawyer.
Yeah,
and, You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And He's
and
like,
then he was telling me his cross
and
rates,
then
and I was like, you're a lawyer? You live in an apartment
you live over there, just like in the shanty. Yeah, that guy wasn't, dude. And, like, I don't know if you noticed, but I was like asking him a lot of questions, dude. I was like trying to get out of him, like
I was too, and I was trying to figure out like what kind of lawyer you are.
He's not.
Defense
he
lawyer,
wasn't.
Are you like regular lawyer?
Yeah. He was wearing like he looked homeless, man, and he had like the full on beard. He's just like pro bono here and there. So okay, dude. Yeah, you passed the bar exam. I don't know about that.
Yeah, you're an online lawyer.
You're a Bellflower lawyer. Yeah, you're a lawyer in the Sims video game is what you are.
Yeah.
But that guy was kind of a joke.
He was pretty loser.
Overall, it was actually pretty fun. It was that was last week though. So talking about this week, bring us back. What have you been doing, dude?
Dude, man, so I'll be completely honest with everybody. So I have been completely between jobs for the last almost month. Mm-hmm. And I had quit my job right before Christmas because it just wasn't working out, and I've been like looking for something else since we moved out here to Bellflower. And before I was living in Huntington Beach, so I was actually been like looking for something a little bit closer because that travel time is terrible, man. Like going from Bellflower to Irvine in the morning, it takes between an hour to sometimes an hour and a half. Each way.
The traffic will kill
you. And it's not freaking fun. So I've been looking for stuff out here. I've been, going on job interviews, and mainly I've just been chilling at home, to be quite honest.
Chilling like a villain like Matt Dillon on penicillin.
Chilling like a villain like Matt Dillon penicillin, for sure. And being home has been completely interesting because I haven't had a time in my life where I haven't had a job for like a period of over 2 or 3 weeks like I had with that one.
Right.
And I was just interviewing every day and like, going in, whatever. But I just felt like it was just like a stay-at-home mom, man. I was like watching the street sweeper go by, watching all the different neighbors, like what they're up to.
The street sweeper.
I just felt like the neighborhood.
Hey, when are you coming back by?
Neighborhood watch, man. Neighborhood watch, bro. And
texting me, when are you going to be home?
Yeah, I was just like, hey, man. I'm
just here.
I'm awake now. What time are you going to be home? I know I haven't seen you in 10 minutes, and you're on your way to work. But to be quite honest, man, I felt like a complete bum. And I had to quit my gym membership before we moved here, so I had like no gym activity. I just felt like a fat slob. I was just sitting at home eating hamburgers, just putting in applications through Indeed, and just been lazy, man. Like I'm like it's 11 o'clock. Maybe I deserve a beer.
Yeah.
And it's just like.
Lucy's coming on at 11:30. Like, hey, what's up, man?
Yeah, I'm like, hey, Lucy's on. All right, perfect.
Throw on some Netflix.
But being home, on that much time is just like, it's fun. Everyone's just like, I wish I could just be at home. I could just be, staying at home for a living, and I could just be, be chilling and sleeping in. It's, it's great for the first couple days.
Yeah.
But for me, I'm extremely antsy. I'm super ADD, and I'm just like, okay, what's next? So it's like finally we ended up hooking up our gym membership to a 24-hour super sport up the street. So I started going to that in the morning. So I started to feel like a little bit better about myself. I didn't feel like a fat piece of shit in the morning, like I wasn't doing anything and like going on interviews and whatnot. But yeah, dude, that completely sucked. But finally I got a job last week.
Turned it around.
Yeah, completely turned it around. Got something really, really good. Got a good hours now. So like instead of going to work at 8 o'clock, I can go into like 10 to 7.
I wake up and you're gone already. That was a change of pace.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, and before you go on, and I didn't know if you were going to tap into this whole thing, and I mentioned it to you before we started the podcast. I was like, because we were saying, we had some content, and you're like, what? I was just like, hey, you should talk about like maybe being home for the last few weeks or whatever. Mm-hmm. I wasn't sure if.
And there's not a lot of stuff to talk about because we're just at home.
But it's like, but will you talk about that? Because there is like a sense of pride, and I was thinking, I don't know if you'll tap into that, because it's like nobody wants to talk about that, and you know what? But a lot of people can relate to that. I remember. I got
being home for 3 weeks felt like I was home for 3 months.
Yeah, and especially when you're by yourself,
so much longer.
Yeah,
than it really was. I'm just like, damn,
I never in my life imagine, you texting me like if I wanted food, or like you were cooking and you're like, hey, what's up? What are you doing? And a lot of these times, I wouldn't see you. Like I knew you were home or whatever, and doing applications, but like I'm gone, dude, all day. And a lot of those times I'd come home and you'd be awake, maybe watching a movie or something. But finally, like this week when you started working, I'd come home. You guys are sleeping early because I get home anywhere between 9 o'clock at night and maybe midnight or 1.
Yeah.
And you were always asleep. So literally seeing you today is the first time I've actually probably seen you awake.
Yeah.
In about a week, since last weekend, really, since Bo's Cigar Lounge, because we were talking about that today, and I was like, dang, I haven't seen you or Ivy, because just the work schedules. I don't drive home from Santa Monica right after work. I find something else to do because the traffic is so bad.
Gnarly.
And dude, just like you hated the traffic, from your old job, going out for like an hour and a half. Dude, that's enough. I almost quit my job every day and I almost turn around half an hour into that traffic. The first half hour you're cruising, you got your podcast, and after that you're just
any more than 45 minutes is complete hell. And I was
doing
an hour to an hour and a half each way.
I almost turn around every day and just make that call like, look, I ain't doing it. I ain't coming in. But it's just like, look, until you got something else in the bag, maybe that ain't the best move, And so, but no, I know there's a lot of people, you're figuring things out. Maybe you're between jobs, you haven't found something. And look, like I said, I can relate even myself. I remember I got let go of a job when I was like 18 or 19. I was working over, cutting I-beams. I got fired from that, cutting I-beams all day. And it was just because there wasn't enough work for me. They were say, hey, we got one other guy doing what you do, and he's been here a lot longer. And you're the lowest man on the totem pole. We got to let you go. I didn't know what I was going to do. And here's the part that really pushed me down in the dumps. I'm wearing a suit. I'm doing an interview at a Red Lobster, and then at the end of the Red Lobster interview, they said you don't have the right personality to work here. So, dude, imagine the manager of a Red Lobster telling you don't have the personality to work at Red Lobster. I go across the street. I'm just like feeling so defeated. And I'm just like going to like Chic Shoes. I'm going to like
Jamba Juice.
Yeah, Jamba Juice, Starbucks. Finally, I can't. This is back when I applied for security. And I walk across that security booth. I look in. I did like a funny gesture. I was like kind of like a Paul Blart. I'm like, hey, you guys hiring? And I happen to be wearing my suit. They sent me to the management.
They're like, you're white, you're hired.
Yeah, you're hired. They sent me to the management office. I go up there and like they gave me an application. I didn't know what I was doing. I was like, literally, they're like, yeah, here, you want to fill it out right now? Because this is where you turn it in. I started filling out the questions. I was so young and stupid. And I'm asking, like, what does this mean on the application? What does this mean? And the security manager happened to be in the office next door. And he just walks out and he goes, are you applying for this job? I'm like, yeah. He's like, why don't you just come in? We'll just interview you right now. And we'll fill out your application as we go.
Awesome.
Dude, 2 days later, I got the job. But that time in between, when you just don't know, what's going to happen, you're waiting on the miracle. You're waiting on that miracle to happen. And dude, it's a feeling that everyone goes through. And when you can actually talk about that and say, you know what? Yeah.
What do you think
I felt like crap.
What do you think is the weirdest question that you've ever been asked in an interview to get the job? What's the weirdest question anybody's ever asked you?
The weirdest question I know for sure was the job that I have right now. And so since I'm doing managing and all the accounting, they asked me a question which is basically a think outside of the box kind of a question, and just use your best judgment is basically the answer. But the question was and remember at this time I'm getting ready to graduate in a month, and I'm applying for jobs because I don't want to be one of those guys who says, hey, you know what, I graduated and I don't have a job lined up, and you're one of those people and they always talk about that. So I said, no, I'm going to apply for jobs, before I graduate, and then try to get a job so that's lined up right away. So this is like 2 weeks before I'm graduating college, and I'm doing phone interviews. And so they had this, one of their external controllers, and she still works with the company now. And she goes, without using Google or any kind of internet services, and you could just look at a map of Los Angeles, how would you determine how many gas stations there were in Los Angeles? And I'm thinking like what?
What?
Yeah, dude. And so I was like, my best answer was, I'd just look at the map and I'd probably slowly plot out the points where I thought and guess how many there were at each station based on I know there's more in certain cities at each corner.
You should have just been like, purple.
Yeah. And I said, I would just try to add it up, and it basically the answer is just use your best judgment and try to figure that out and try to find a workaround. You're not going to get the exact answer. You might be off by 50 or 100 or 1,000. I don't know.
They don't care.
I still don't know how many gas stations there are. I never really figured that out. But that was probably the most odd question.
I got so lean.
Dude, yeah, it was weird. And but other than that, I mean, look, they ask you questions that are straight up right out of the text on what I learned, but only about 10% of what I do now is from what I got from college, and 90% of it is all experience. I went into a job managing and dealing with things that I'd never dealt with in my entire life. And it was all just experience and trying to figure that stuff out once I got hired, And so really what it made me realize is, experience really is everything. It's the 9 out of 10, 90%. And the other 10% is, you do sometimes need a degree, just because that degree or that piece of paper is the key. That's what is opening the door to get you into that job or whatever. But that was, I don't know. So that was the strangest question. What about you?
2 segments. The very first, the very craziest question that I've ever asked to me was when I was probably 18 years old, maybe 17, and I was trying to get a job. Okay, let me back this up. I was walking through the Cerritos Mall.
Yeah.
And I was looking for jobs. Some Asian guy was just like, "Hey, you looking for a job?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he's just like, "Come here." And then they were doing group interviews at Abercrombie and Fitch.
Oh, nice.
And they're like, "Oh,
he picked you out of the mall, or you were in the store?"
I was walking through the mall.
Oh, wow.
And he grabbed me, and I was just like, "Hey man, we're gonna do some group interviews right here in the mall in in about half an hour. Can you just meet us there?" So I go back, and I was like, "Yeah, absolutely." And there's probably 10 people that are all in a circle on this couch, and they're just like, "If you can be any animal that you want, what kind of animal would you be and why?"
Yeah.
And I was just like, what the hell? So I said, and everyone's taking their turn. I'll be a giraffe because I'm tall and I was just like, I'd be a monkey because I have a ton of energy. I'm hopping all over the place. I want to
Nice.
talk to everybody else, and I have a ton of energy, and I just want to be in the mix. And then you're just like, oh, good answer. And at the end of the interview, they're just like, hey man, we liked your answers. When can you start?
Yeah. Oh, so you got hired?
Yeah, I got hired there. But to kind of counter that, the craziest questions was when I was about 21 years old and I was trying to be a police officer, and I went to LAPD. And I went to downtown LA.
Yeah, they do ask you a lot of.
They were asking to do your lie detector test.
Yeah.
So when I did my lie detector test, I was sitting in this huge chair. So there's a sensor on your ass. They put one on your heart. They put one on your arm, your other arm, your leg. There's 20 sensors all over you.
Yeah.
And they ask you all kinds of questions. They'll ask you the same question three or four different times, in different ways. And the weirdest answer the weirdest question they had asked me was do you enjoy having sex with animals? And then I was just like, no. Okay, well, have you ever had sex with an animal? I was like, no. And then they asked that same question 3 or 4 different times throughout the whole test, but in different ways. And I was just like, no, Jesus Christ. And that was probably the weirdest.
Is that why you failed Did you fail the polygraph because of that question?
No, I did not. I don't think I failed the polygraph. They had asked. I definitely got nervous when they had asked me if I had ever done drugs.
Right.
And I know I had at that point at 21, I was really good, and I know I had smoked weed a couple times at
right.
a couple house parties. And they asked me if I ever stole anything, and at that point I had really I had stole some Tic Tacs from AM/PM or something. Yeah. And then I remember a couple years later I ended up stealing some floor mats from when I worked at a car dealership.
Yeah.
I ended up jacking some floor mats and taking them out of some random car and putting them into my new car.
Yeah.
And that was really the only time in my whole life that I had ever stolen anything. And I told them, I was just like, oh, I sold some car mats. I was working
sad.
at a car dealership, and
Took those floor mats.
I had no car mats in my new car, so I took some from an old car, and I was all super nervous, but it was crazy, man. That was probably the most nervous that I've ever been in my whole life, and I remember the teacher was like, "You're never gonna see me again. So if you lie to me, I don't give a shit." And I was just like, "Okay." And he had all those sensors all over me. And sorry, man, I didn't mean to go into this full conversation about the lie detector test. But the lie detector test it's pretty gnarly, man.
Yeah.
Like
I
they probably asked me 200 questions.
I took one
at
3
the end of the
times.
day. Did you?
Yeah, 3 times because I actually applied for LAPD as well.
Yeah.
And they definitely do ask you a lot of weird questions. They ask, and I only actually applied. I know there's a lot of guys that apply for, the police academy or, become a cop, time again, if they fail once. I only did it 1 time. But after I checked out the first time, I ended up going back to college right after. But what happened on mine...
They didn't even tell me my results for like a year.
Yeah, well, that's not a good sign. But I got hung up on the drug thing too.
Maybe later.
And the thing was, I actually knew exactly, like what drugs I had taken. I had smoked marijuana 1 time.
Yeah.
And it was
marijuana back then was so much crazier than it is now.
It was out of like an apple core or like a tin can. I can't remember what it was, but I did smoke once, and it was years prior to when I was going through this process. And they just kept getting hung up on this drug thing, and they wanted me to come back. They asked me to come back, and every time they said they said I wasn't disclosing the information regarding the drugs. So that is what ultimately hung up my application. And it's almost to the point where they do have all these sensors, and they ask you all these weird questions about like the animal, or do you beat your spouse, or have you ever been in
beat that bitch when she fucking needs it.
Yeah, but I was kind of, I was thrown off by that, because I knew I was telling the truth. And after that happened, I was like, well, that's not right. So I just never tried again. And I don't regret it, it's cool. A lot of our friends and stuff are police officers. But I knew kind of at that point also, like, this thing maybe isn't entirely accurate.
Did you ever do any
but I know that whenever that question came up, it did make me feel weird, because it was the one bad thing that I knew I had ever done.
Yeah, same here.
So it's I knew that even in my heart, when you have all these things connected to you, it's like, just by admitting it, and what I had disclosed up until that point, to them was the truth. And they're still getting some kind of a feedback, I think is what it is. I think they're getting some kind of a feedback on this detector, where it's like, whether it's the guilt that's popping up in your mind or whatever, I don't know how they gauge that. But, taking it 3 times and having it come back as a fail every time is just like, wow, man, that's crazy. But
I only took it once, man.
Oh, yeah, geez.
And I was just like, fuck that after that. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, whatever, maybe I'm not going to be a cop. But I took a couple ride-alongs before that. Did you ever do any ride-alongs with the cops?
Yeah, well, I had done ride-alongs for training for my job at that time. Like when I was 20, I was doing basically a ride-along for 2 months.
Yeah.
And it was training because I was a CSO. And I was a CSO for 8 years, which is basically, in Lakewood, taking the sheriff reports for missing kids or, stolen cars or burglaries or anything like that. And that is the step right before becoming a police officer.
I took 2 ride-alongs. I took one in Lakewood, and it was whatever.
A ride-along.
It was just like, whatever. But the one I took in Long Beach, that one was, it was actually pretty fun. I went downtown Long Beach. I was like, oh, I'm here for a ride-along. And they're like, all right, cool. Do you have some comfortable shoes? And I was like, yeah, I wear my nice church dress shoes,
Mm-hmm.
And they're like, do you have anything else? I was like, I have some Nikes in my car. They're like, yeah, can you go throw those on? I was like, sure. So I went through. So I'm in a full suit, and then I changed my friggin' dress shoes to my some Nikes.
Yeah.
That because I worked at the gym at the time, so I threw those on, and. Dude, we went on so many crazy calls that day, and then I remember there was some stabbing in some area where they like a dry cleaner or something.
Yeah.
And then just like a bunch of different crazy stuff. And then I remember at the end of the night, one of the officers was like somebody said something to him, and he was just like FTP, like to another officer. And then at the end of the day, I was just like, what does that mean? I'm trying to understand it. I was just like, at the end of the night, I was just like, hey, what does FTP mean? And he's just like, oh yeah, that means fuck that puto.
No.
Yeah. That's what it means.
Or
and then he
Mexican.
was just like, he was saying that a lot throughout the night. So like to one of his other like guys, it was like, okay, yeah, we have a 1099 whatever, and I don't know exactly the numbers.
He was arrested.
And then
attorney.
they were just like talking about it, and he's like, oh, the FTP. They said FTP like 30 times throughout this whole time that I was with these people, and I was just like, that's not even police code. That's just them just being like,
just chilling.
Screw these people.
Yeah, I've never.
But
actually heard
Long
that.
Beach was probably the gnarliest, and it was Beat 6, which is like downtown.
Yeah,
and it was fun.
He was like, hey, I got to ride along with the SWG. FTP guys, hey, what's SWD? This stupid white guy.
Yeah.
Dude, I actually just went down to. I had court last week.
You did?
Actually, it was Tuesday. Yeah, I had to
what?
I had to pay a speeding ticket. I got a speeding ticket. Probably they give you kind of a long time to pay for it, but I got it probably in December or November.
How fast were you going, and what zone?
I was in the south end of Los Angeles, or kind of like over where the Metropolitan Police Station is in LA.
What led to it?
Well, it was. I would always take the freeway to go to work, and sometimes, when you take Waze, they're like, look, this traffic is so bad, you're better off getting off and just taking like some main streets.
That's true. I did that yesterday.
And that's what led to my demise. I got off and I was heading down this one highway. It was almost like just like a trucker road only, just some like kind of barren wasteland road. Like you just would never pass there. Like you never Wazed it. But I'm taking this road, and I think the speed limit was 40, and I think I was doing maybe 50 or 51. And I was kind of going to the same speed limit as most of the other people. And maybe I remember, though, I was in a hurry to get to work for some reason. And
because you're late every day.
It was probably 6 in the morning, so I had to be there really early for something. I think there was it was raining, and there was a flood or something like that, and I had to get there for some contractor to let the water out. I don't know. Something like that. And so this just made me even more late. I got pulled over. The guy comes over, is checking my ID. He writes my name as Mitchell Tyler Byron on the ticket. And so I had to explain that when I was paying the ticket, and where your name's not coming up. I'm typing in as Byron or whatever. But I went down to the police station, dude, and so or the courthouse to pay this ticket. And it came back.
What city were you in?
It comes in the mail. It was LA. And you get the ticket in the mail, a month later after you're actually issued the ticket, and you get the paperwork in the mail saying, yeah, you show up on this before this date, and of course you're just gonna delay it as long as possible. It was Christmas time. I was buying presents, and I was like, I'm not about to pay $200 or $300 right before all this. Yeah, I'll just postpone it, pay it by February 2nd, and I drive down there, dude, and there's one giant parking lot right next to the courthouse. And they have this big sign, there's always $5 parking, $10 parking, and there's all these parking lots nearby, where they charge by the day. And it's look, I don't need to be here all day. I just need to go in and pay a parking ticket.
I want to own a parking lot.
The actual
it seems like it would be good.
You'd make good money probably, but the actual parking lot was $14, dude.
Jesus.
And they're like cash only. I'm like, look, I got a card. I didn't expect it. I thought, look, you're gonna have a big driveway like the Bellflower courthouse, dude. The only place I've ever had to
you're white, $13,000 per day.
Yeah, dude. The only other place I got one speeding ticket 11 years ago, maybe 12 years ago, in 2007. Which is so okay. Yeah, 11 years ago, and that was the last time I got a ticket. Speeding ticket at least. And I remember it being $300 or $400, and I think it goes based on how fast you're going over the speed limit. And I was coming back from the gym back in 2007, just all jazzed up, probably listening to AC/DC or whatever. But this time, I was kind of just going the same speed as everybody else, and I honestly didn't really feel like I was speeding that bad, but I knew I was going faster than the speed limit. And for that reason, I just went to the courthouse and said, look, I have way too many friends that I've heard I'm going to fight this ticket, I'm going to do this, I'm going to show up on all these dates, and that's a freaking waste of time. I'm just gonna go pay this thing, and then try to get that point off my record, and just ask, what do I gotta do? Go to a traffic school or whatever. And so I get there, and dude, of course, I'm not gonna pay that $14. And not only did I not want to, but I couldn't, because they said, oh, you know what? It's cash only. And I'm like, I got a card. So I ended up finding like some stupid parking meter, like half a mile away. I throw my card in there. It's 2 hours for 50 cents. I'm like, dude, that's what I'm going to do. So I park there. I'm like walking through like hundreds of homeless people. I get to all the way to the courthouse, dude. And then I have to go through security. I'm emptying my pockets. I got like freaking just change rattling around. They're like waving batons. They have like 30 guys working right there at the front. Just super unnecessary. All that tax dollars just going to that. Then you finally get in, and you have to stand in a long line to actually, talk to somebody at one of the desks, or through like a little window. And but they're all taken up by all these people. Like, nah, I'm trying to find my ticket. No, I'm not. I'm trying to find my ticket. I'm going to delay my ticket.
Ghetto-ass people.
Dude, it was just ghetto, man. And just, I'm waiting, and everyone's arguing at a different window about something else. I just get it there. I think I was the quickest person to just get in, get out. I'm like, I'm here to pay it. She's like, okay, you got 6 months to go to traffic school if you want to get rid of the ticket. And it's like, she says it's $60 if you want to go to traffic school.
That'd be such a shitty job.
Dude, so I was like, okay, so it's $60 to go. And she's like, yeah, and then we'll remove the point. And I was like, okay. And then she goes, but you still have to actually pay for the traffic school that we choose, and it's like whatever selected traffic schools they have in the area.
They have comedy traffic schools.
Yeah, well, I don't want to go to any traffic school. I don't care. There's nothing funny about it, man. You got to show up and just sit there with a bunch of losers. And I was like, hey, turn right, make sure you stop. And it's just like,
imagine a comedy one. He's like, hey, what's the matter? You forgot to stop?
You idiot. You had to pay hundreds of dollars in the ticket.
Somebody just humiliating you.
That'd
be terrible.
And so you have to pay the ticket if I want to go to traffic school to get rid of the point on the record. When and you get 3 and then you're toast or something like that. But if you want to get this point off your record, so your insurance doesn't go up, you pay the ticket. You pay the $60 for them to do the paperwork so you can go to traffic school.
Yeah.
And then you pay the actual traffic school that you go to, the $100, $200, whatever they're asking for. For you to sit down, watch probably a couple like red asphalt videos, and then to tell you about green and yellow lights and speeding and, just be safe and everything like that. So at some point in the next 6 months, I will go to traffic school and get that point off my record, because I think that ultimately it's going to be cheaper to get it off the record, and those points stay on your record for, years and years and years, dude.
Dude, knock on freaking wood.
To drop off.
Knock on wood. The last maybe 2 to 3 times that I've been pulled over was actually way in my earlier days when I was actually trying to be a cop.
Yeah.
Back then. And I got pulled over, and I remember the first time was like right after I was like applying to be LAPD.
Yeah.
And it was in LA, and the cop pulled me over for, doing 80 and a 65. And he's just like, hey man, I pulled you over. And I was like, yeah, I do apologize. And I was just like, I'm in backgrounds for LAPD.
And he's like, cool story, bro.
Yeah. And he's like, oh, you're in background for LAPD is essentially saying like, hey, I'm in background testing, so they're like testing all my background right now. Like I'm in the process of trying to become an LAPD officer, so they don't want to mess with that. So they're like, okay, cool, man. I'm not gonna like write you a ticket. Like that's fine. Have a good day. Just be careful, bro, and like have a good day.
Yeah.
And I was just like, oh shit, nice.
Yeah.
And then the next time I was down here in Bellflower, and here's the racist shit part of it. I had one of my black buddies, and we were like going to the gym or something, and we weren't even doing like nothing crazy, and we were just driving, and it might have been like a couple miles over, and like, boo, 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 and I got pulled over by the other cop.
Yeah.
And they're just like, oh yeah, you failed the signal, da, da, and I told them the same story. I was like, I'm sorry, officer. I'm actually in background to be an LAPD officer. Like, I'm doing background testing. And then he like went back for a second, and then he like ran my license plate, and I'm clean because I'm not doing anything crazy.
Yeah.
And then he's just like, all right, you're good to go. I'm not gonna write you a ticket this time. Just be careful. Blah blah blah. All right, cool. Fast forward 2 years later, I'm coming home from Vegas, hungover, And I'm freaking flying, dude. I'm doing 100, 115, just trying to get home. Like, freaking.
Wait, go back. Why
flying.
was that last one racist though? You said your friend was in the car.
Because I had a black buddy in mine.
Wait, why was that racist?
They got pulled over because
so there
was another time I
thought you were gonna say he gave you a ticket because of that. But he let you
I've
go.
never been
man.
pulled over except when I had that black friend, and then I got pulled over again. I was gonna say on my own way home from Vegas, and then about a year ago, I got pulled over again because I had another black buddy in my car.
Okay,
my buddy Blake, and we were just driving, not doing anything, bro. Like just driving, just normal. And then, and then,
this is when you were coming back from Vegas?
No. Well, before you interrupted me, I went to Vegas. I was coming home. I was driving very fast. I told him the same story. I was like, "Hey, I'm in background for LAPD."
Yeah, you were in backgrounds for like.
And dude, I'm fat at this point, dude. Like, I'm not even look like I'm trying to be, you know. And he's just like, "Okay, same thing." He's like, "All right, cool. You're good. Have a good day." And then, like last year, I was driving with my buddy Blake. We're just driving around Irvine, and not doing anything, and he's got his hand out the window, like like singing to like some like G-Eazy or like whatever the song is, and he's just like, "Yeah, nigga, what's up?" And then boop, and then I got pulled over. I'm like,
his arm was hanging out.
I'm like, damn, dude, we weren't doing anything.
Yeah, and then he looked to the right and he was gone.
And then, dude, cops racial profile, bro. I'm like, I don't ever get pulled over, but when. Like the two out of three times I had a black person in my front seat with me, and we're just dancing, we're having a good time, like listening to music, and I got pulled over.
Yeah,
that's some straight racial profiling, dude. Like those.
So what happened on this time though? He got.
Those guys pulled me over, and they said you didn't stop completely at like one light.
Yeah.
And then they're like, "Where are you coming from?" They're like questioning us. There was two cops. There's like one on the passenger side, like one on my side. And I was like, I do apologize. I'm just taking my friend home. And they're like, okay. And they're like, what's going on? I was like, I do apologize. I was taking my friend home. I'm actually in background to be an LAPD officer. Like, I'm in background testing.
Yeah.
And because I told my friend, I'm going to say this shit. You know, so he knew exactly what I was going to say. And I was just like, I'm just dropping my buddy off from work. And also, please don't arrest me because I'm in background for LAPD. And then they were just like, all right, and then they went back to their car. They looked at like my license plate or whatever, and then they came back to my car and they didn't say anything. They're like, "All right, cool guys, we're gonna let you guys go. Please just like watch yourself when you're like, you know, just being regular cops." And then they go. Mm-hmm. So
I don't think any of that was racial profiling, dude. I think you just got a little excited.
Well, 2 out of 3 times I had a black person in my car. And
maybe you get excited and you put your foot down on the gas when you have a black person in your car. You ever think of that?
I have a lot of black friends.
What if you got pulled over by a black cop, dude, and then he was like,
I'm not trying to be racist or anything, but 2 out of 3 times I got pulled over in the last 10 years.
So what's the solution?
I don't have a solution. But I'm saying I've gotten out of all 3 tickets because I've said the same thing.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Dude, I got pulled over with the black person in my car once.
Did you?
It was only one time, yeah. And I think it was me and my buddy John. And it was this other guy named Kelly in the car. He's black. He's like half black though. I think but he looks like black.
Boop, half black. Boop.
And they pulled us over, dude. And I had just left the wedding, and we were actually going up to hang out with a completely different group. You know, I was going to meet up, and I picked up Johnny, and I picked up this guy Kelly. Yeah, we're on our way up to like Lake Kachuma. You know, like just go out there. We're going camping with like some friends and stuff. And I get pulled over, and he's like, yeah, you guys were going kind of fast down there, you know, and you see the speed limit. I was probably going like 10 or 15 over the speed limit, and just like this empty highway, you know, once you're like out of Los Angeles.
Sure.
And he's looking in the car, and he's just like, he's looking at Kelly, and then he's looking at me. He's like, "Have you been doing some drinking today?" And I was like, "No." He's like, "Have you guys been doing? It smells like alcohol in this car." And none of us have been drinking. I'm like, "No, I haven't been doing any drinking." And he goes, "Are you on something?" And I was like, "No, I'm not on anything." And he goes, "No, I can see in your eyes. Your eyes look kind of glazed over." And I was like, "No, if my eyes look glazed over, it's because I just got out of a wedding. I'm super tired, and you know it's been like a long day. I'm driving up to Kachuma and everything." He's like, "Sir, can you step outside of the car for me?" Dude, I get outside of the car. I do all the tests. I walk the line. I'm like doing the ABCs backwards. I'm freaking reciting like freaking Mary Had a Little Lamb or whatever, dude. And finally, I was like, I should have just said it sooner. I'm like, hey, I'm a CSO, community service officer in the city of Lakewood.
They're like, we don't give a shit.
He's like, are you a CSO? And he goes in the car and he's like asking the guys stuff like, I'm telling the truth. And they're like, yeah, he is, and blah blah blah. And I had like one like little tiny like work card in my wallet that said like LASD, and it has like a built-in chip so you can go through the station and everything like that. And that was like my only saving grace where he like kind of believed it. And I wasn't in background, so I didn't have that line, but that was kind of like the only thing like that. I was like part of the bigger picture family.
Sure.
And but he, after all his tests, he still kind of just kept thinking there was something, and he kept asking me, "Are you sure you haven't done it? Are you sure?" And then all I remember, the craziest thing was, after he let me go, he said, "You need to watch your speed." I was so nervous, and like after I got done talking, that once we started going, I like really started picking up speed, and I started, as soon as I got on the highway, I realized I was speeding again, like 10 miles over the speed limit, and he was right behind me, and he was just following. Because that's the only way to go, and they're like, dude, slow down. I'm like, oh shoot, I was like going over 80 again, and dude. But I got out of that one, and then we got up there without any tickets. But dude, that guy was he could have sworn, like that they just swear like you're doing something, or like trying to figure you out, or ask questions, press your buttons, see what gets you to tick or whatever. Yeah. And so that was probably like my only experience, where
it's scary, man. Like you're like, oh, dude, I feel like I'm under the thumb of the man, dude, and just like I didn't do anything wrong, man. And thank God having those alibis, to get you out. Mm-hmm. Like I had one that I used for freaking 10 years, and I wasn't even trying to be a cop at that point, but I used that a couple times, and maybe because I am white and, was in shape and had a shaved head, I maybe looked the part, but, like
I don't know the rate.
That's not an excuse to, say that.
I don't know what the rates are for people getting pulled over based on skin color or anything like that, but I can say that the only times I've been pulled over in the last 10 or 15 years is when I did something that was deliberate, like was speeding, or is it something outside of what I look like? My car was going that fast.
And I've never been pulled over for like drinking or like anything like that.
Yeah, you just don't. There was times I remember, when I was really young, and I was, I had too much to drink, and I was drinking too much wine. And I remember it was raining that night, and I had an old Mazda car, and I remember being on this I think I was heading towards the 91 freeway. And my car was I was still defogging. When you take off before your windows are really defogged, and I could barely see out, and I kept trying rubbing it with my hand, and that heater was trying to catch up with all to the defrost, like the front window. I could barely see, and I was swerving. And I remember a cop pulling up on my left hand side, and there's two young guys in the car, and they were both looking over at me, and I'm looking over at them, and our cars are side by side, and they're both looking at me right in the face, and then they just looked forward and they kept going. But honestly, they should have pulled me over. I remember that night swerving, trying to find my way home. Luckily I, lived to tell the tale. I don't do that anymore.
I remember you leaving from my house a couple of times when you were just blasted. And you're just like, oh, it's fine, dude. I feel like it's like a game for me.
Yeah, it's like it's just stupidity, man. When you're young, you just do the dumbest things.
And I did the same thing, man. When I was like 18, 19, 20, 21. When I worked at Olive Garden in Cerritos, and I lived probably like 10 minutes away, we would work at Olive Garden. I'd work our whole shift. You'd probably make $100, $150 cash. But at the end of the night, we would all walk over to BJ's, which is like pretty close, and all of our friends worked there. Yeah. So we'd all go over there and just drink after work.
Spend all that cash.
I'd spend half of the night's tips on just drinks, like working there. And then we ended up meeting like one of the guys that worked there. This guy named David or Mike or whatever, and he became one of the homies, like the main bartender there. So all of us people would come over from Olive Garden. We would all be wearing the same outfit, and he would freaking hook us up with drinks all night, dude. Like a Tokyo Tea, Adios MF, like everything you could think of. And at the end of the night, he would charge us for like a children's lemonade or something like that. Then we just tip him out fat. Like I'd get like $100 worth of drinks for like $4, and just give him like $40 or something like that. And but all of us would.
So he's taking
everybody in the whole place would. So he'd probably walk up with $300 or $400
more than that, depending on how many people you had
every night.
Multiply that by multiple nights, dude.
Yeah. So
I wonder how long he got away with that gig, dude, before they figured that out. Because at some point they figured that out.
After a few years, I think, but. he was doing it pretty sly, but or pretty slick, you know.
He was doing it really sly for a white guy.
Pretty sly for a white guy, dude.
Yeah.
But dude, those were the days. And then
time,
I would drive home drunk, dude, and like I would take side streets home, and I'd be super paranoid. Every car that was behind me was a cop.
You know the one place you don't get off. I used to remember.
Do you remember my loud truck?
Yeah.
I had a '76 Chevy pickup. Dude, mom and dad would completely hear that. So I would have to at the corner. I'd be going pretty fast.
Yeah.
And then when I came around the bend and the cul-de-sac, I would shut off my truck. So I would just be I'd be coasting, and then I would just be coasting, and then I'd coast in and park.
Yeah, it's just
sneak in.
It's like
exactly.
Then you park.
Yeah.
And then you come in the house. Dude, I remember when I was really young, and I was smoking cigarettes like an idiot, and I would come in the house, and a lot of times, you know, when I first started smoking, when I was maybe 18, 19, and you get home, but you make sure you don't come home till really late, you know, when everyone's asleep. I get in the house and I'd either, you know, hurry up and go to my room before I track that smell through the house and dad wakes up and starts yelling or get mad or whatever. Or if at one point I got a little more ballsy and I started coming home 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock on a Friday, Saturday when they're up watching the Polar Express or Home Alone or some movie. Napoleon Dynamite, The Office, whatever they were watching.
You'd have a bottle underneath your bed.
Dude, I would stink like cigarettes and smoke, and I would hurry up and run into the bathroom, you know, and I'd smell like cigarettes. And you know, I remember Dad, you know, telling me, you know, and having a talk with me once, and he knew I was smoking cigarettes, and him saying, you know, hey, you know, what I thought the conversation was going to go like this: hey, are you smoking? And he's going to grill it out of you, and you know, you're out of the house basically. But it was more of like, hey, you know, that's really disappointing to know that you're doing that. You know, those aren't the right choices that you're making in life. That's how it went. You know, it wasn't you're out of the house and, you know, you're not my son anymore. And I was thrown off by that, you know, and even, you know, years later when, you know, after the fact when I'm not doing any of that anymore. But
I think I hid it better than you.
You think what?
I hid it better than you. Because before, I was living in the house too in 06 and 07. I was selling cars. Mm-hmm. I was selling Dad. I was working until like 12 or 1.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I was getting off at like a 9 or 10.
Yeah.
And I would drive all the way from Cerritos to Fullerton, which was like 30 minutes away. And I would go to a hookah bar.
Yeah.
And hookah was the shit at that time. So I would go and smoke hookah with like a bunch of friends. And when you smoke hookah, dude, you smell like a cigar. Mm-hmm. And then I would come back home, you know, at a certain time, and I'd go straight to the bathroom, take off all my clothes, take a shower.
Yeah.
And
you think that's hiding it, but dude, it tracks through the house, and that's what Dad said was.
You can smell it.
He goes, you think you're coming in the house? You think you're fooling anyone? We're all up. Your sisters are awake. You think that they can't smell that smoke coming through the house? Like, give me a break, you know. And so it was actually more of like that disappointment. It hits you harder, I think, than I hate what you're doing, and you know, it's just like, hey, my dad's disappointed in me, you know. And then you finally kind of straighten out. What it took for me was like, you know, after a while of doing that, not being able to go up, you know, a flight of stairs without losing my breath, and you know, really realizing, you know,
you were smoking a lot.
I was smoking a lot, dude. You know, I was smoking a lot. You know, it was with my buddies. We thought it was cool, and then you know, at some point you give that up, you know. And it's been years since I've done that. Now it's the occasional cigar, but dude, I have no interest in ever picking that back up.
Yeah, I never I smoked like one cigarette in high school. I didn't like it. Hookah I liked because it was cool at the time, and you know, you could do like a bunch of different flavors or whatever, and they're like, don't inhale it. I inhaled all that. Mm-hmm. But at that time, you know, I was coming home and like nobody was really like awake. And then that's really how I started really like doing club promotions, because they were like there's all like Arab people in there, and then I would bring like people from the car like business, like and then like other friends from house parties. I was really big on house parties back then.
Yeah.
So I was like the king of house parties. So I'd bring in like 20, 25 people that were just like down, like you know, like for a house party. I'd bring them all in to host them, and then like get like a bunch of free stuff. Then they'd pay me, and I'd like. That's kind of how I started like my club promotions.
Dude, I remember too. I you know, when you got into the whole party scene, and somehow I found a way to end up at a few of those. And when you're that young, you know, 16 or 17 years old, and your brother's 18, 19, and he has access to whatever, it's such a big deal because you have no experience with alcohol or smoking, so you have like there's nothing about you that's like I don't like it. It's more of just curiosity at that point, and so there's nothing to turn you off. And it's when I remember going to a few parties with you, and just everything like seemed like such a big deal. You know, the room seemed bigger. There's all these people. Look at them. They're playing beer pong. You know, all these young idiots. You know, just like it seemed like such a big deal, but it seemed so important. You know, and like I remember at those parties, you were like an important person. Like, oh, Tommy's here. You know, Tommy's here. Oh, what's up? You know, and you felt like I felt like a VIP. You know, as a young kid. You know, it really is just like. So stupid, but you know, thinking back about that, you know, like those house parties, not even a club, a house party, you know, like that's
the
just,
clubs. That was a big
it's always
deal
some
too.
Parents are out of town, or you know, somebody. Yes,
I remember my friend Jessica and Johnny, brother and sister. Their parents were selling their house in Norwalk, and for a while it was in escrow, and like we had basically an open house for parties for a month. Every freaking weekend, dude, we threw a different party. And I was always about, let's do a different party than we did last week. So this week, let's do G.I. Joe and Army Ho. You know, so everybody's dressed in freaking camo.
So
okay,
stupid.
this next weekend we'll do, and we all voted on it. You know, let's do a stoplight party.
Yeah.
So everyone do like green, red. You know, this weekend let's do a toga party.
Yeah.
This weekend let's do a freaking glow in the dark party. We'll bring like black lights and shit. So every week was something different, and we killed it, bro. And like we'd have like all the best music. One of my buddies would download like a CD with like all the best shit on it. Shout out to my boy Lucas. And
he's like, yo, I got that new Timbaland.
It was so much
before that.
It was so much fun, dude. Like I loved planning parties like that, and dude, we had so much freaking fun. I mean, I remember we had we threw a glow in the dark party, and everybody that had like a black light like brought it, and then I had everybody that was coming wear all white, and then we went and bought a bunch of markers that glue in the dark. So we had like 50 markers there that we would just like walk and give people, and everybody was walking around drawing and writing stuff on drawing a big dick on your freaking like shirt, you know, in bright pink, and then it shows. But that's it, man. We did that. There wasn't even no need. There wasn't even no need for like a DJ because we had all.
It wasn't even iPods.
Playing.
It was like CDs probably.
Yeah,
dude, I remember. It's funny because I remember I have this one picture, and this is before you take a digital camera. I think I must have taken a wind up because I have the actual printout of the photo because you have to go get it exposed and have it printed. And it was right after I got that Lakewood security gig, and I went to a Halloween party with you. And I was wearing my security uniform, and you were wearing a doctor outfit. Like, so you looked like you had like a doctor's gown on. And it's me and you at the party with our arms around each other, like laughing into the camera, and somebody took the photo. I have that picture still, dude. Like, I gotta. Do you remember what I'm talking about?
No,
it's such an old photo.
I know what you're talking about, and the funny thing is, that party that was probably in like 06 or 07. That came up on my timeline on my Facebook.
The photo
from the people that were at that party.
Wow.
And I mean, the main girl that was throwing that party lives in Australia now.
Wow.
And like people are like all over the place, but I'm still in contact with all the people.
Dude, I put that picture on MySpace, and I got in trouble for it the next day. They're like, "Hey, did you wear your security uniform to a Halloween party?" And I was like, "Yes." And they're like, "Don't do that again." You know, I always got in trouble when I was working security, dude. I would wear that stuff or do like a goofy video at work or, all that dumb stuff, but.
I was all about it, and even living with mom and dad, there was a point where I was like, I was always going to a party every weekend, and they got to a point where like they would see me like dressing up. I remember this one party when I was working at Olive Garden with like a bunch of friends. We were doing Skate Depot.
Yeah.
So Skate Depot was in that area of Cerritos.
Cerritos.
Now,
right
now
by the
where
BJ's.
that thing is, it's a gym now. That's where I go to the gym now. But we were doing a 70s theme skate party. Wow. And I went to, I remember going to the friggin' thrift store and finding the smallest pair of shorts that I could find for men. and they were like boxers,
dude.
And then finding like the tight, because I mean I didn't have a gut back then, but finding like the tightest T-shirt that was like a button up, and then my mom was just laughing, and like I went and I had the tiniest shorts, and it was just hilarious, dude. And like it's just a blast, man. Like there's just so many theme parties that I've had thrown, and then getting into like I was just working after that. I got into club promotions. That's kind of what led me into that, because I loved throwing parties. And then I started throwing parties and started getting paid for them. And then after that, everybody started doing the same thing. So it was kind of hard.
People started having kids.
Yeah.
People started getting pulled over. No.
Man, it was... Dude, we had so many freaking theme parties, man. It was just... It was insane, man. Like, anything you could think of, bro. Like... When did
the fade out, if you will call it that, happen? Like, when did you realize, like, look, my friends aren't doing this anymore. This isn't that cool.
It started
they're
in
having
like
kids and they're having families and get married.
It started in like 2007 with all my friends.
They started like trying to be successful, and it wasn't about the party life anymore.
But it's not even that. Like, people that still have kids and stuff like that still want to party and have fun. Mm-hmm. But there was a crew of us that grew to about 30 to 40 people that every weekend they counted on me to be throwing a party. Mm-hmm. And that lasted probably 5 years.
That's when it burned out.
5-6 years. And then
it was just a different group.
People start moving away.
Yeah.
People start like having children and like getting married or whatever and doing their thing. And then people kind of start losing interest. But then there's like younger kids that like want to like keep it going and keep going. But
yeah,
they
just joined the scene, and
but there was a
look
group,
up to you, and you're like, oh my god,
There was just this group that we all stuck together, man, and we would do the same thing every weekend, and it was just man, it was.
Sometimes you're when you're in a group like that, and I remember when it fell apart for me. I don't want to call it falling apart, but I remember,
not falling apart, but it has to fall
basically,
apart.
You have a group, you're used to going out with them, and I remember, I had a group for sure, and it was probably around 24 or 25, so around maybe 2012 or 13, that, and I was part of it, I was like, hey, I'm back in school, I don't have time for that. I remember, Josh was busy, he was becoming a cop, and Johnny was, just busy with school or whatever. And I remember that group, it's just like, hey, one person falls out, another person kind of falls out because, now they don't want to go, or it's like not, it's just not the same dynamic.
What years was that for you?
That was around 2013. I'd say around 2013 or 14, 12, that was the fade out at that time. And, that group of people, you go out to Kachuma with them, or go camping, or hit a bar, or
life,
have a party at the house, and then you kind of grow up. And do I miss all that stuff? No, man. Like
really?
No,
you don't miss any of that.
I don't. Not even.
I miss.
Look, I don't want to say those weren't good times. I had fun, but I'm much happier now than I was then. I'm happier with where my life's at. I'm glad I went to school.
Also, back then, you just don't give a shit.
You don't. Yeah, you have nothing to lose.
Like, that was a crazy night, and you wake up in the couch with one shoe on, and like, I have work in 4 hours, but
yeah, that's cool, and your body can handle that when you're that young. But when you're almost 30, like I am, like that's...
Dude, I'm over 30, and now if I freaking party, like if I go to like, let's just say I go to a festival, like let's just say like I roll for one night, or let's just say I just have like a crazy night. Mm-hmm. It takes me 2 days, maybe 3, to recover.
Yeah, it'd take you a while.
Because it's like, dude, I'm not used to staying up that late. I'm not used to like going that hard. And back then, you're young and you're agile. You can do it.
Yeah.
Back then, you didn't give a shit, man. You're just like, where's the party? I'll look it up on. You print the directions out on MapQuest.
Yeah.
How to get there.
But the cool thing is, there's always the standouts at those parties. There's always the ace. Where it's like, oh yeah, this person's really super cool, and then a lot of times those guys, they just keep going, and they end up being like the biggest losers, you know, because they feel like,
dude, we used to have these parties where it was going to be at a certain location, and it was everybody had the same number to call. So you'd call this number, and the phone was off, and the message was like, "Hey, you reached so and so. We're throwing a party at XYZ address."
The Eynon Brothers podcast.
BYOB. Yeah, you know. I went to a lot of parties like in Downey, man, where it's just like these kids are throwing it at their parents' house, and it's like, you know, these parents have, you know, a multi-million-dollar house.
Imagine going to one of those now and just going back there, and it's all these 21, 2-year-old kids, and it's just they have so much, all that angst, you know, and they have so much to prove. And it's like, he showed up with a 12-er. Oh my God, look at Rufus, man. Oh yeah, he brought that, and he's got. It's like, dude, just. But you can't say, I guess, you know, in my mind, it's like these guys are idiots now, you know. But the reality is that I was once there, and they're not idiots. It's just they haven't experienced it yet. You know what I mean? They still have to go through this.
Some of these parties I still attend. You know, I go to these I go to these guys' house, but it's like, hey, this guy is a successful, you know, CEO, and he owns XYZ.
He's a successful Call of Duty player.
Yeah, so I'm not going to a party in the middle of fucking Bellflower, but I'll go to a party that's like, it's in the Hollywood Hills, and it's nice. And the reason I'm going to this guy's party is because I want to schmooze with, you know, all the people that are there.
Wait, you're still going to those parties?
Yeah, when I'm invited.
Oh.
I still go to these parties, and some of them are like in Newport Beach, some of them are in Hollywood.
I thought you were joking, dude.
No, I still go to these parties, bro. Like, I'm still involved in that stuff. And it's like, the reason you go there is to schmooze with these people and, you know, meet other people. Mm-hmm. I'm not completely shutting it out. If it's some random party in like Norwalk, I'm just like, yeah, all right, have fun. But it's like, if it's a party where there's
you're gonna be dodging bullets like that one Bellflower one, dude.
Dude, if there's important people there that I can, you know, network with, then yeah. If not, you know, I'm not going to waste my time.
What's the biggest networking you've ever done at a party?
The biggest networking what?
Yeah, just biggest connection you made at a party where something about that connection came through and it ended up being a big deal.
I've met a lot of celebrities at parties. Mm-hmm. You know, like BMX or like
Macaulay
skaters.
Yeah.
I met a lot of actors.
Tony
Hawk.
I
met a lot of here and there. Dude, I remember going to a party. I was actually talking to my wife the other night. We just recently started watching The Office. Mm-hmm. One of the clubs in Hollywood that I was promoting was called Ledoux. Mm-hmm. It was a 2-story club, and you could not get to the second story of this club unless you were
prestigious,
somebody special. And I had a wristband, so I can get up there.
How'd you
guess who I met up there?
Who? Michael Scott.
I met Kevin from The Office.
Oh, nice. Big fat Kevin.
And I was like, hey, dude, Kevin, I'm like a huge freaking fan. And he's just like, hey thank
Donnie.
you. You know, he's the same way he was in The Office.
Yeah.
That's just one example, you know, from the other night that, you know, my wife and I just started watching The Office again. I was just like, I met that guy. That's crazy. But that happened a lot, man. There was a lot of I've met a lot of actors, a lot of artists, a lot of singers, a lot of dancers, just like a lot of people in Hollywood. And I've met just a lot of interesting people. And it's just like, if you put yourself in that situation, you put yourself in that industry, you're going to meet a lot of people. And you have to go to those parties if you want to keep your social status up. And if you want to keep, you know, keep meeting these people, you have to be at these parties. So
I don't think you have to go to the parties. I kind of disagree. I don't think you have to go to the parties to keep your social status up.
Yeah, not if you're an accountant at some little company that nobody knows about.
Obviously,
if you're trying to be an actor,
you were obviously defensive about that. But if you know, I think
if you're trying to work at Ralph's,
if you're going to a party,
what I was trying to say is, if you are a person that's trying to move yourself in your career, you need to be at these functions so you can meet other people and further yourself. Because you're not going to further yourself in your career if you don't know anybody. Correct?
I think that's a tool to further yourself. I think
it is. It's definitely a tool.
I think you can if you meet the right person and you have the right things
to
say.
Maybe if you have an agent or something.
But that is not the key, I think, to, you know, you might get lucky and run into somebody. But I think the key is if you want to meet people in your circle, and let's just say it was acting, and we'll use Kevin as an example. It's like, yeah, if you went to that party, you got really lucky, you ran into Kevin, hey, I love your work, acting like the fat guy from The Office and everything like that. But, if you want to be an actor, you're going to look at open casting calls, and then you're going to end up, ending up on the set, of some Hershey's chocolate bar commercial or as a background extra, and then you can talk to
and then you hear that one of your friends is
Charles
throwing a party
Barkley is doing
in
it.
Hollywood Hills. You go to that party and you meet XYZ. Oh, this guy's a producer. Oh, this guy's this guy.
Yeah.
And then that's when you get your connections. That's how Hollywood works, bro.
There may be a few people there, yeah, but I don't think that's the main way, and I don't think it's like.
I'm not saying it's the main way, but I'm saying it's one of the.
And I also don't think that's why.
You're not going to be some loser that just stays in your house all day and makes it.
Yeah.
It's all about networking, dude. It's all about networking.
Okay. So when you went to the party in the Hollywood Hills?
I've been to many parties in Hollywood Hills.
Tell me more about your parties in the Hollywood Hills.
Dude, I've been to a party at I've been to a party at what's his name?
Here, look, bottom line. I think you can have a lot of fun at the parties in the Hollywood Hills, but I don't think that's the key to networking, for whether it's acting or music or something like that. I think
you can't say that because you're not in that situation.
No, I can say that because I think that if you want to get involved in something like acting, directing, or music, you would do that directly. It has nothing to do with you going to that party. It just has to do with you putting yourself in that circle.
But if you're networking with people that are in the Hollywood Hills, you're at a party, you're going to meet people, and it's going to further your experience.
Yeah, but you might not know that they're
Pauly
even going to be there.
Pauly Shore is what I was trying to think of.
Yeah,
we have thrown a party at Pauly Shore's fucking house. In the Hollywood Hills.
And he did used to be a big deal. I'll give you that.
Yeah, and he was obviously clearly not there. And dude, I was just in his kitchen, just talking to random people. Hey, let's just say like, oh yeah, hey Jay-Z, you're cool. You stuff. Oh, have you met Kanye? Oh, hey, it's Kanye.
Yeah, he'll be there.
I'm just saying,
he'll be at the party you're at. Yeah.
This is where people meet each other.
Yeah, I agree.
You're not gonna meet anybody just being at home.
Yeah, I agree. I think that, like you said, going to a party to network, you're definitely going to network, and you're going to network with a lot of people that like to party and like to drink. But if you're going there for the off chance that you run into an artist or an actor, then you might be SOL if you compare yourself, if you were actually just going straight for it. If I said, hey, I want to be a writer, and then instead of joining a writer's group or taking a course with somebody who has a connection, I say I'm going to go to parties and hope that I run into somebody that was a famous writer. No, Stephen King's there.
You want to be invited to these certain parties, and then obviously when you're there, you'll be introduced to like certain people. But you got to have your game up, man. You have to be like good at what you're doing, and then if you get invited to these certain specific events, then you're going to meet people that are there, and people love influencing you and lifting other people's careers up. That's how it works. Mm-hmm. If you're out there like, yo, dude, I'm so-and-so. I love what you're doing. Yo, come, to my studio and work on this track.
Yeah, and then they'll wake up the next morning and it'll be like that black guy that we met at the Beau Cigar Lounge, and they'll say, yeah, I don't know what you're talking about.
You're a fucking idiot.
Tommy has walked out of this podcast.
Yeah.
I think he's thrown in the towel for the night. I am still down to record. I think if he cools his jets a little bit, he can come back and we'll wrap this up. I still have a lot of talking points for you guys, so we'll get back to that, and it's gonna sound like a matter of seconds. Okay, so we just left off for about 15-20 minutes. We're back, so I guess we're gonna close off this whole thing. The point I was making was, I do believe in networking, and that I don't think that the key is going to a party to find a person and hope that you run into them. I think that if you wanted to be involved in anything, whether it was writing or acting, that you would find avenues into that, where you're like, whether you're in an acting class or if you want to be a famous chef, you're gonna find ways to cook with that person, or or take their classes, or read their books, rather than the high hopes of running
Wrap it up
to said person at like a random party or something like that in the Hollywood Hills. I will give you that. Yes, if you do go to parties in the Hollywood or in the Hollywood Hills, yes, you are bound to run into a star. I don't think that their point or their prerogative at that point at a party in the Hollywood Hills is going to be to network with you, but I guess we'll just go from there. Do you have any last points to make?
No, loser, you're good. Thank you.
Okay, he was defensive about that. All right, well, we're gonna move on, people. We're gonna move on to the next point. I watched the new Star Wars: The Last Jedi.
Who gives a shit?
It was amazing. I think over half the country cares, and I liked it. There was a lot of people.
I'm gonna go sleep in this corner.
There was a lot of people that did not like the new Star Wars. I thought it was good, man. I in the last month have probably watched The Force Awakens like 3 times. We've had it playing at the house. I like it. Your wife Ivy loves Star Wars. We tried to explain to you like what the saga is about, and you fell asleep. I tried to explain it 3 times today, people. For those of you, I know those of you out there that are Star Wars fans, those of you out there that are Trekkies.
I don't have the time for this shit.
And when I tried to explain it,
go watch number 4. Watch number 3. If you skip to number 9, then you go back to
then you rewind it.
If you go back to number 1, it's also pretty cool. That also then once it goes into number 7. And then also 13. Yeah. It's like, come on.
Well, look, when you compare yourself to a monkey, I guess it's going to be hard to keep up with a movie like Star Wars. But the movie Star Wars: The Last Jedi was a great movie. It was directed by J.J. Abrams. Or no. The movie The Force Awakens was J.J. Abrams. And then the last one was... What are you farting for?
Oh, what?
Okay. But look, the Last Jedi, I loved it. I actually looked up what the Blu-ray was gonna look like because I can't wait to buy it now. But awesome movie. So dude, last night I went to what's called the First Fridays in Long Beach.
The what?
First Fridays.
First Fridays?
Yeah. So in Long Beach, I used to live in Bixby Knolls, dude, for like 2 years.
That's a cool area.
Yeah, it is.
There's a lot of cool little restaurants and bars there in the area. I remember one time my wife took me to a little crepe place right there for my birthday and had a really amazing crepe.
A crepe. Yeah, look, they have more than crepes, but there are a lot of great places to eat, and there's a lot of cool places to see out in Bixby Knolls of Long Beach, which is like a tiny little section between San Antonio and Bixby Road on Atlantic, and that's where they actually have the First Friday. So the first Friday of every month, they're throwing like this big bash. So it's like 12 times a year, and they have artists out there. They have dead end artists, guys who are like painting rocks. They have people that are doing like canvases, and they have musicians. They have like 15, 20 bands playing all at the same time. But you get to walk up and down and see what everyone in Long Beach in that area is like contributing and just like to try to be something. And it's awesome to see all the art. It's really cool. So yesterday was Bella's last day of work, and she actually is going back to school. So she's like, hey, I want to do something to celebrate. I was like, let's go check out First Fridays. So I'm just going to start with like the drive back or the drive to Bixby Knolls from Santa Monica. And, like, unbelievably, it was like, I think an hour and 15 minutes, which is like unheard of. Dude, like, because typically it would take like 2 hours to come from Santa Monica. But we're on our way back, and we're listening to Def Leppard's album Hysteria. And Def Leppard's album Hysteria is like, dude, it's one of my favorite records from like the 1980s. And like even just like the album art itself is insane. If you ever look at like the freaking cover art to Def Leppard's Hysteria, it's insane, dude. Not my favorite album. Is that like one of my favorite looking albums? Yes, by far. It's probably number 1. So we're listening to it. I have like a crazy system in my car, and she's like, I've been missing out on all this music. And this is an album that has like, okay, the only one that everyone's going to know is Pour Some Sugar on Me. Pour some sugar on me. Dude, Armageddon It, Hysteria, Animal, Rocket, Don't Shoot Shotgun, Love Bites. These are all hits. That album had 7 like humongous hits. It was recorded over the...
It's not as big as our podcast, dude, but it's up there. I get it.
But all right, let me give you a little background on this record. So this record took 3 years to make. So they were recording it from 1984 to 1987. Why? Their album Pyromania came out in 1983. So what took them so long to get their act together? So in 1984, when they first started recording, their drummer flips his Corvette like off the side of the mountain and loses his left arm. Their drummer, dude, the guy who needs his freaking arm, dude. So you have like this major band. Def Leppard was already a big band, but they were not as big as they were going to be when this album came out. Why did they stick with this guy? This guy's got one freaking arm that's good. So they create like this MIDI, all these MIDI processors and like drums where he's like using like pedals with his feet and like the little nub that he has on his freaking arm.
Yeah.
And he's controlling all that stuff with his hand. And if you listen to the album, it's all these simple beats, just like boom, pss, boom, boom, pss, boom. But that made the guy become more creative, and they stuck with him, and they put a lot of money into the technology. His name's Rick Allen, and they put a lot of money into the technology that they used to let this guy still drum. They took 3 years to record this record, and when this record came out, it was not only their best-selling record to date, and probably my favorite to date, other than Pyromania, which was the one that came out right before, but when it came out, there were so many engineers that were like questioning, like, how did you get these sonic sounds off of Def Leppard? It's Hysteria, you know, and they were trying to copy like these insane drum effects and vocal effects that they had on Hysteria. And the answer is, dude, like, look, when you got 3 years to record an album, you're gonna find ways to freaking get creative, and you're also gonna have time to just record a lot of hits. You know, like in that 3 years, not only there were several times where they recorded a bunch of stuff and then they threw all the material they had away, and they said, look, let's just get a different producer. Let's do this from a different angle. We're going to get another guy. And they started over. They got like John Muttling. I think it was like some guy that had to do with like AC/DC or something like that. But dude, that album is so good. We listened to the whole thing on just the drive down to First Fridays in Long Beach. So that was before we even got there. So we finally just get there. We're on Atlantic. And we park over on Atlantic in San Antonio, like over by some Rite Aid. There's like some like homeless guy right there. He's like begging for money. We park the car right there because we're not about to pay for like the paid parking. And then we walk like, I don't know, like a couple thousand feet to get to the First Friday. And then once you get in, there's like all these art displays. And like I was telling you, like there's these dead end artists, dude. They have like these guys who like tables out. They had this one guy who like thought he was like the Houdini of all artists, and all he was drawing was like Disney characters, like Ariel and Cinderella, but with their heads cut off. So like it showed it showed their heads cut off, and like it was like a cartoon bones coming out of like their necks and everything, and like blood spilling out. And then they had like excuse me. They had like this guy who was drawing like these Tim Burton kind of pictures, like something you'd see in.
So what'd you get your rocks off to?
Something that you'd see in like Edward Scissorhands, or like, you know, like the what's that stupid movie like The Nightmare Before Christmas with like the big eyes, you know, they have like the big white eyes, all those Tim Burton movies. So there's like a guy who's like drawing pictures like that, but of like Disney characters, and Bella like fell in love with this guy's art, and she bought a bunch of his pictures for her sister, who really likes that kind of stuff, and her sister's into like the Tim Burton like theming and everything like that. So she got a bunch of cool stuff like that. But the coolest thing was that they had like this huge parade yesterday, and they had a David Bowie parade. So if you showed up by like 6:30, we got there a little late, they would face paint you like David Bowie back when he was doing his Ziggy Stardust days. So it looks like a lightning bolt is going across your face. So we get there's like 100 people with like this lightning bolt across their face. It's like orange, yellow, blue, white, yellow. And
this is in LA?
No, this is in Long Beach. This is Bixby Knolls. And they're all marching at the very like front of this parade is like this giant like lizard / dragon that like some girl made at an art festival a few years ago, and so she was like the head of the parade. So you basically had like this giant like monster of a dragon with like people underneath it, like it was because it was celebrating Mardi Gras, and they're all marching underneath, like, you know how in like the Chinese people they get underneath the dragon and there's like 10 of them underneath it. That's what it was, like one of those, but like for like a giant dragon lizard. And then all these David Bowies behind it, like marching in this parade. It was like the weirdest thing. The cool thing is like out there they have all these food trucks, and like, dude, you know, that's what I'm there. I'm there.
So how cool was it with all 7 people there?
There was hundreds. There was thousands. There was actually probably a couple thousand people there. And if you ever want to go check it out, it's actually really cool. You'd honestly probably like it. There was right there in that spot, they have like a bunch of art
like art buildings. So like they have these like losers like standing next to like their one picture that's on sale for like 900 pictures for like a splash of paint.
Well, why
it's
are
like
they a
all
loser
that all this contemporary art and everything like that.
Why are they a loser then?
Because they're standing right next to their picture. No one's buying it, dude, and they're just like standing there like, yeah, this is my photo.
What makes them a loser?
It portrays my feelings and everything like that, and you're like, okay, that's cool. And then they had
what do you have on sale, dude?
And then they had like these
Dude, you're a hater, bro.
all these food trucks out there. So the food trucks was probably like honestly like one of the best parts. And you know, like my fat ass is there like looking around. And when I used to go there when I was like 24 or 25, like they would have the funnel cake truck, they would have like the macaroni and cheese truck, they would, you know, they would have the grilled cheese truck, they had pizzas, everything. When I went there, it was sad, dude. Like they had 3 food trucks. This was the only place they were lagging, was the food trucks. Everything else was there. The art, the more bands than I've ever seen, and more like people that were musicians than I've ever seen. They had like they had this one coffee truck, and then they had like this one funnel cake truck, and they had a fried chicken truck. So they were appealing to a very small audience. It was just, they weren't doing it enough. Like before, there was a bunch of like, okay, if I actually want to get a meal, I can get a meal, and it just wasn't there. So no food trucks, but the live bands, dude, were off the freaking chain, man. They had like this one crazy like jazz band, like 5 guys like all playing their parts, and there's one, it was like something off like the Little Rascal soundtrack. And then they had like a rock bands. They had like this one country band that was like the Eagles, but they had like the black singer with the black guy who was like singing, like he was saying, "Country road, take me home to the place I belong, West Virginia," which is all John Denver, which is like the most hick song you can sing. But to see like there's a black guy owning this song with a freaking cowboy hat.
He's like, West Virginia.
It was pretty, dude. It was.
Shit.
It was pretty awesome to see. So yeah, the David Bowie, the Giant Dragons. We didn't end up eating at a food truck. We got a coffee out of one of the trucks, but then we kept going. There's this place called Porky's Pizza. We kept seeing all these people walking up and down the boulevard with like these giant slices of pizza.
How giant?
Like, dude, honestly, like 2 of my hands times 2. That's 1 slice of pizza. So 4 of my hands. I have big hands, and
that's what she said.
Yeah, dude. So you get like this big freaking slice of pizza, man, and it was $2. I got 2 of them. She got 1, and then you get a Coke or you get a Dr. Pepper. You sit there, you find a seat. We met this freaking awesome couple.
That's a good deal.
Yeah, we met this like super cool couple. It was like this Asian guy and Asian lady, and they were standing in line trying to get the slice of pizza with us, and the pizzas weren't fully cooked. So like, we'll wait. We're like, hey, how you doing? The guy's like, yeah, I used to work in Santa Monica. We had all these things in common. He's like, oh, I live out here. I used to live out here. And he's like, yeah, yeah. And then he's like, oh, and then he ends up telling us like, yeah, I own the therapy across the street. It's like we look across the street and it's like this giant therapy building, and he's like, I own the building. And I was like, oh my god, dude, this guy's rich. And yeah, they ended up being the coolest people, and we honestly had like just a lot of fun with them. And here's the craziest part. So we're walking back.
What kind of therapy would they do?
I have no clue. I didn't really follow up on it. I just
I've
never been to therapy.
It's on.
It's I don't know what back massages, freaking
I'm here for
chirotherapy. It's like beats me. But
yeah.
Here's the craziest part. So we're walking back with a slice of pizza, and so when you have an event like this, you have just tons of booths. You know, whether it's a guy showing off, like he hand bangs those tins into place, and ding 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 ding, I made this, or you know, some guy who's wood carving. They had this like one small worship band playing, right? And there's tons of bands playing, and the guitarist, they basically in the front of their little booth have like this thing. What does this person have in common? That person have in common? That person have in common? You're supposed to make a guess. You always get it wrong. Then they're gonna hand you a tract to go to their church. I made the guess. I got it wrong. I got a tract to Calvary Chapel, Signal Hill. Then it's like this guy with like no teeth, and he's handing like, I've been sober for 400 days. And he hands me the tracks, and then I look at the guitar player, right? And I recognize him. I'm like, dude? And the whole band stops. He's like, dude, I used to play football with you. I'm like, no. Dude, I used to yeah. And I'm like, I used to play football with you. The toothless guy doesn't know what to do with himself. The youth pastor comes out. I know this guy. His name's Bernard. I forgot his name because when I played football, I was 15. I was at Calvary Chapel. I was playing varsity football in 10th grade. And
like over
dude, our team was in like the 13th division in like last place. We're like the worst football team in history. Terrible. Yeah, we won one game that entire season, the first season that I played. And Bernard, we were laughing about it, yeah, but we both forgot each other's names. He's like, I feel bad, but what's your name? And I was like, dude, I don't remember your name either. Because you got to remember, that was in 10th grade. I was 15. I'm almost 30. That's half my life ago. You know what I mean?
15 years.
And you can't remember the first few years of your life, so it's almost like more than that if you think about it. But
yeah, dude, I can't remember what I did like last week.
Dude, so I forgot the dude's name. His name was Bernard. I recognized him. You know, he's like, I didn't recognize, and the youth pastor's like, does he look different? I'm like, well, he looks a little heavier set, but dude, like, he looks, other than that, he looks the same. We got to talking, man. It was awesome. You know, like, he was telling me, like, you always get the story of, like, yeah, I strayed from the church after I got out of high school, and then you're almost 30 now, so, like, yeah, then, you know, he kind of came back around. He got back involved as a youth pastor, and he's doing the music now and handing out the tracks and going to play, you know, like he's doing events, you know, now like First Fridays and everything like that, which is just awesome. So it's good running into them. And at the very end, you know, we're walking back to the car, and there's just the one thing that I noticed, other than like all the homeless people, were like the level of teenagers that they had out there walking around. It was all these kids. And I don't want to say this, but they were all minority kids. And all these cops just started surrounding them as we were walking back. They didn't say anything to me. They didn't say anything to Bella, but they, like, you ask her, these cops would come out with their car with their lights on, light bars, and just pull up to groups of minority kids and just start flashing their lights for no reason. Yeah. And we were just crossing streets, and we're like, wait, what the heck is going on? The kids would just ignore them, and eventually the cops would go away. But watching it was something else. You know, like, it was really... It was crazy to watch. Like, I didn't know what to think of it. We finally got back to the car. We saw that same homeless guy that was over by the Rite Aid. We got back over here, you know, just kind of hung out, watched some TV, massage, whatever. Called it a day. Woke up at like 7 o'clock a.m. And then she has her driver test today. So, as you know, like in the last few podcasts, I've talked about, yeah, we've gone on like a lot of road trips. We've gone on all this stuff, and I'm always like, hey, you know what? It'd really help if you could drive, because she doesn't have her driver's license. And if she could drive, that I might be able to sleep, you know, because doing 10 hours to Utah or something like that, I don't like doing it. I don't like to. I'll do it. I can do it.
It's taxing.
I don't like to do it, and I want to be able to sleep like she does through half the trip.
Sure.
You know what I mean? Just to like.
It's fair.
To relax. So I start pushing on her, you know, like on a few months into the relationship. Hey, it's, you know, you're in your mid-20s. It's time, you know, and it's just acceptable in her family, like where they would just get their licenses in their mid-20s, and it's just what happened. So she turned 24. She signs up to go take her test. I wake up. This is like an event. She's going to go down there. She's going to take her test. We go out to breakfast. We actually stopped over at Tam's Burger. They have the really good like French toast and everything. We ordered I actually got some coffee over there. It looks like they scooped it out of like the LA River. We went to the Inglewood.
They always look mad there.
Yeah.
When they're giving they're like...
Yeah, they're like, oh, no, we don't have that yet. But then they end up giving like the most phenomenal breakfast in the world. We get to the Inglewood DMV where she signed up. And I'm like, she's going to check in. And I'm in the bathroom, dude. And I'm taking pictures and Snapchatting just how ghetto this place is. And just the bathroom, dude, because of all the graffiti.
Well, what does it look like?
How do you have an entire DMV with just absolutely zero graffiti on the walls, but once you enter the bathroom, why is it acceptable for the bathroom to be all tagged up and never get rid of it? Because everything in the bathroom was tagged, from the toilet paper dispenser to the seat to the walls. There was like, and not only that, but like even like the maintenance like on their end was bad in the bathroom. Just in the bathroom.
I don't understand. It's like think about it like this. Like,
yeah, they had the old.
You have a gang.
Yeah, they had They had the old soap dispenser next to a new soap dispenser. The old one was completely empty and filled with like gum.
Let's just say you're a gang, and I want to write my gang's shit on the wall to just tell you who we are. Mm-hmm. So you're gonna write on a toilet seat on what street and what gang you are. But at the end of the day, everybody's going to end up shitting and sitting on your
call name or whatever.
On your
call
shit.
sign. Yeah.
I don't understand that.
It's I don't get it. And it's sad. It's like, dude, okay, if that's where you want to tag, go for it. But why is it also acceptable for public locations, especially government agencies, you know, like the DMV, to leave that kind of stuff up. That doesn't make sense to me. So
you're just gonna write your the street name that you're at all over this soap dispenser with your paper towel, like, dude.
No, with markers, with knives.
Markers, like you're scratching it into the to the soap dispenser, like you swear like there's rival gangs just like, okay, yeah, we're here. Oh shit, look at that soap dispenser, bro.
Oh, I gotta join that shit.
4th Street was here.
Join that shit.
These guys are crazy.
Yeah, it's loser, man.
It's the most loser shit you can like completely have.
I agree. And by the time I came out though, I went and I found myself a seat, and they got by this time they got the computer going because it was so early in the morning when we got there. They were just firing up. You get out there, and once I got off the toilet, I can start hearing, now serving G57. I get out there, I take a seat. She's already taken her written exam. She's in like one of those little cubicles, and she finishes taking her test, and she comes over to me, and she looks just defeated, and she says, Mitchell, I failed the written test.
Oh.
Now, it's 36 questions, and you can get like 5 wrong. And I guess she just got 1 more than she could wrong. And if she wants to retake it, she can either wait 15 minutes and retake it, or for what she paid, which is like $35 to get this thing, is she can take it up to 3 times. So she can come back another day, or she can try 3 times today, or 3 times on different days.
Do it all that day.
And I said, no, we're not coming back. You're going to pass this test today. You don't need to go back in 15 minutes just because you can. We'll sit here and we'll read this little booklet until you pass the test. And I said, you know what? Let's go online. Let's take the test together. Because online you can actually take practice tests. So we go online, we take practice tests. And what she explained to me was she had taken these practice tests, but none of those questions were on the exam. But also, important. All the stuff she studied for in the booklet was not on the exam. So I'm thinking like, okay, look, they have like what, 2 or 3 tests at the max.
There's probably a few like 4 or 5 tests.
But all I'm thinking is like, look, if you retake it, and since when you fail the test, they actually explain to you what you got wrong. I was like, look, if you retake it, they might even just give you the same one and be nice. And because like, who fails the written test? Nobody fails the written test, dude. Maybe the driving test, because that's like, there's no going back. But like the written test, come on. So I'm like, no, I'm not leaving here until you I know you can do it. I know you can do it. So we sit there.
And she's a reader too.
Yeah, she reads, man. So she's getting through like Harry Potter books. She's reading a different book every week.
Your girlfriend is super smart.
Yeah, she is. And so we finish reading like the booklet. We go through it. We do a practice test. She goes back. She takes the test this time quicker. Then she comes back. She's not smiling though. And I don't know if she's failed or she's passed. She comes back and she goes, I passed. I give her a big hug. Yeah. Congratulations. It was a big deal. She's posting it on Facebook, Instagram. This is like a big deal for her, I was proud, amazing. Man. I was proud. And then I went and dropped her off at her house and came back over here to podcast.
How old is she?
She's 24.
She's
24, man. It's time. It's time.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's time now. So she's... And the crazy thing is, like, legally, now that we're walking out of this building, I'm telling her, you have your driver's permit. I could technically let you drive my car back to your house. And I'm just thinking, that's not going to happen, until we practice a little more.
She's
because,
like,
yeah, because the only one that she's been practicing with is me, so she needs more practice.
You're a good teacher.
Before she gets on a freeway, man, look, if anyone's going to teach her, it's going to be me, you know what I mean? And I'll take the time. I'll take her out to the neighborhood and you stop at that stop sign. Because I feel like no matter what, you're always just going to find a way to pass that test. It's the driving itself that matters. I remember passing the driver's test. I'd never driven on a freeway in my life. But legally I could at this point. If I was with Dad or if I was with you. So I just said, look, we'll start practicing, every time.
Do you remember getting on your freeway as you're in with
your
first time?
I remember,
with your
yes.
permit?
I remember the first time I got on the freeway, what it was like and everything.
That shit's scary, dude.
Yeah. I just gotten out of church. I was at a friend's church in Long Beach, and I should have taken freeways to get to that church, just visiting. But afterwards, they were going to a subway, which was the next city, but a really quick way to get there was just hop on the 405 real quick, get off on the next exit, and you're there. And I got on the freeway. I was following somebody. So it wasn't like I got in there just blindfold, but I was actually staying right behind somebody.
Mine was just to get on to go to the Long Beach Town Center.
Okay, 605?
Yeah.
Good starter freeway.
Yeah. Because it's super busy.
Yeah.
And there's all kinds of stuff going on.
But what would be a bad starter highway is like the 405. You know, or anything that was like where there was too many, like, oh, this splits to the 90 to the 110 or to the 105 and 91, and then you have to stop and go traffic. That would be the worst first example. But she passed, man. That was like, it was a big deal, you know. And I remember, hey, you know what? Some people pass it when they're 16. Some people do it when they're 24, like she does. Some people do it later in life, you know. Like I know she's got a sister who's 26. She still doesn't have her driver's license, and now that she's passed it, she's like, hey, you know what? This isn't so hard. You can do it. And
she's setting an example for her siblings.
For her younger siblings and her older siblings. So super proud of her because of that. And by the time I got back, dude, over here, so I dropped her off at her house after that, you know, and she's like, oh my god, I'm so happy. I'm gonna go get my nails done and everything. So I was like, all right, cool, I'm going to go podcast. Came back over here. Before we started podcasting, I'm like, dude, I need to do a freaking fat load of laundry. I come back over here. I get like 3-4 blankets. I get towels. I get washcloths. I get clothes. Throw them all in my car. You and Ivy are out there like washing your cars and everything.
Yeah.
I go to the laundromat, man. There's this dude. Like, there's always characters at the laundromat.
Always.
This guy's sitting in the front. There's always somebody sitting at the front, right? You know, and right before you go in it, like this little table on the left side, this guy's smoking a blunt, dude. And he's like...
How do you know he's smoking a blunt?
I can smell it.
What'd you smell?
It. But it's wrapped in like the cigar paper. And it smells like marijuana. But he's like, hey, you want to get in on this? Ha 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 ha.
He said that?
Yeah. You want to get in on this? But his laugh. I was like, dude, that's so like from a movie, dude. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But and then as I'm leaving, when I went back to pick up my laundry, the Asian guy was like it's awkward because I had to pick up my laundry in 2 loads because I can't carry all. You saw how much. You had to help me with my laundry out to my car. There was so much.
It's a lot.
I go and I pick it up and I'm walking out and he's like, okay, thank you. And I'm like, I gotta walk back in. Think, what are you gonna say that again, dude? So I walk back and he's really quiet and he's like cutting a piece of styrofoam and like talking to some kid. And then I leave again and he goes, okay, thank you. And he actually said it again, dude. Like as I'm going back, it's like he's not even looking at. He owns the place. He's not looking at who it is. He just knows you just paid some money to go wash clothes at his place. You know, go do your laundry and everything.
That
like
guy fist bumps me every time. I'm like, I have my headphones on my freaking head right now, and when you have your headphones on your head, it's like, yo, I'm listening to something. Like, please don't bother me. Yeah. And this guy comes up to me. He's like, hey.
You had your headphones on?
Yeah. He's just like, hey. And I'm like, I take my headphones off. I'm like, he's like, you're so tall. Yeah. Oh, ha, 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 ha. I'm like, yeah, I am tall. I've struggled with that my whole life. And just like, oh, ha, 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 ha. Like laughing. I'm like, it's so funny. And he's just like, you have a good day. Oh. And just like starts laughing. I'm like, all right, man, have a good day. And then like I fist bump him, and he's just like having the best time of his life. And I'm just like, dude, who is this guy?
Yeah, dude. Wait, what were you listening to though? What podcasts are you listening to these days? You're still on Joe Rogan.
I listen to Joe Rogan's
Bert
podcast,
Kreischer.
and I listen to Bert Kreischer's podcast. But I think I was listening to. I think I was just on Pandora, just listening to like straight comedy.
All right. Anyway, So I've been listening to like Bert Kreischer, the Macaulay Culkin podcast. My favorite podcast right now.
Everybody needs to go follow our podcast, Eynon Brothers podcast.
Yeah, definitely.
Stitcher, YouTube, freaking. What else is it on?
Google Play.
Mm-hmm.
Those are the important ones.
Yeah.
Podbean.
It's everywhere.
It's on there, man. But yeah, freaking
share it with your friends,
your family, your relatives, your freaking uncle's cousin's roommate,
brothers, friends, roommates, aunts, friends.
Yeah. Dude, the last thing I wanted to touch on tonight was an event that we both went to. It was about maybe a week ago. It was last Saturday, actually, so it was exactly 1 week. As you know, if you listen to the podcast, both Tommy and I are Eagle Scouts, which is like actually a high achievement. And our dad, who's been in the scouting world for over 2 decades, you know, he was in Troop 140 for a long time in the Long Beach Area Council. He started Troop 242 over in Downey. He was actually honored for over 2 decades of his service, of just, all the Eagles that came out of his troop and starting new troops from the Long Beach Area Council. He was honored. And everyone was there. It was hundreds of people. My brother was there. Our family, my sister Jessica was there. Our brother-in-law. And the whole thing was like, they planned it. It was like pirate themed. Mm-hmm. Dad had to go up there to give a speech. Mm-hmm. And did he dress like a pirate? No, he wore a freaking Pirates hat, dude.
Yep.
A Pittsburgh Pirates hat, baseball hat. And he went all the way to a freaking, like a cap store just to buy that, dude. That whole ceremony, dude, had like the worst absolute jokes. Like, this one pirate who was like hosting the whole thing, he's like, "What's my favorite letter? It's R. What's my favorite soda? It's RC Cola." Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was freaking awesome. What did you think, dude? Because you wanted to leave like the whole time, but did you? You got to admit that was actually pretty fun,
dude. I was just like, oh my god, if they make one more pirate joke, I'm just gonna freaking leave this. But
did you really want to leave? You had a good time though, right? Like, it was fun. It was funny.
Which part?
The whole thing. The pirate puns, like, the whole thing was cornball.
Oh, yeah, the whole thing was funny, but I wanted to leave the whole time.
Why?
Because it was terrible. It was just like, yeah, I get it. It was like, it was an award. I was there for our pops. We wanted to see him get this nice award. But at the end of the day, it was just like, they're just making terrible jokes. And it was just like a bunch of people that we had no idea who the hell they were.
Like, other than Stan Hadley.
And honestly, I wish that my dad got his award in the beginning because I would have left right after that.
Really?
Really?
So we came back here and we watched Indiana Jones and The Last Crusade.
And I went to sleep.
The crazy thing is, look, Tommy and I, we have Netflix. We've been kicking it. Last week we watched Temple of Doom last weekend. And we watched Raiders of the Lost Ark right after we came back from the Antos or the Beau Cigar Lounge. But that night we had watched The Last Crusade, where like they're getting their heads cut off and like walking on water. Young Indiana Jones, the whole bit. And dude, what has it been like a throwback for you to see freaking Harrison Ford in his early 30s battling the Nazis again? Because when's the last time you watched these movies? It was in the 90s. I know you haven't been I know you weren't watching them in your prime when you were throwing parties and stuff, dude. What is it like? And was Harrison Ford ever a hero to you?
First off, Harrison Ford was a hero to me. I love those movies. But here's the thing. My brother loves to watch all the old movies.
Right.
I do. Multiple times.
Because they're so good.
A week. So, yeah, these are great movies, and I'll watch them, but it's maybe like
I hadn't seen this. I hadn't seen Temple of Doom, dude, in 10 years. When that guy rips that guy's heart out of his chest, these are movies, yes, they are old, and I do like watching them, like Terminator over and over again.
He loves watching same movies.
But it's been a decade. It's been a decade. I haven't watched that movie in as long as you have.
All right. Well, you love watching the same movies over and over again, and yeah, I'll watch them over and over again with you because we live together. But I would never watch these movies ever again if it was up to me. But watching these movies again, it was definitely brought some throwbacks, and they were great. And I loved it. I loved all of them, and I can't complain. But watching the same movies over and over, you love watching the same fucking movies over and over.
How many?
I mean, you love watching Terminator.
Love them, yes. I'll give you that. I'll watch them a bunch of times, yeah.
Indiana Jones.
No, I haven't watched those in about as long as you have, so that's not correct.
We've watched all of them together recently.
That's true, yeah.
And anything that's just old school, man. It's just like we put it in and we watch it. Like, if I go through our drawer, you just love watching the same movies over and over. It's just those old school ones.
I do,
and I'm not saying that I don't. I do, but
first of all, I think I probably watch more movies than you in general. But I probably go to the movies at least once a week and watch new stuff too. I probably watch more movies, new ones, than old ones. But when I'm home, there are old films that I really love. Like, yes, The Terminator or Jaws or Jurassic Park.
Yeah, Jurassic Park.
These are ones that they get played a lot, man. And it's because I think they're that great. You know, I really enjoy them.
Yeah. So that's all I'm saying. I'm not saying that they're terrible movies or anything, but I'm just saying,
no, look,
you like to like.
I know that.
Watch the
I
same
know that
movies
if you
over
didn't
and
like
over.
them, no, look. Here's the part that warms my heart, because I accept the fact that, you know what? Yeah, I watch old movies over and over again, but you'll sit there and you'll watch them with me. And I like that, because I'll throw on a movie, be like, what are you watching? Like, you might be on your phone or whatever, but you'll kick it, dude. And you'll hang out, be like, all right, T2 again? Let's do it.
Well, yes. Now that we live together, now you know, if you throw in
because otherwise we're watching Eat, Pray, Love with Tommy. If he has his way, it's Notting Hill or Eat, Pray, Love, and I'm like, dude, this is a joke.
Mitch puts all his freaking, you know, old movies,
sci-fi action, man.
Like,
but you know, that's the good stuff, man. Here's the funny thing.
But the good thing is having Netflix and, you know, all these different, you know, things we can
you
watch.
get a lot of forgettable movies, but you actually get some good stuff. If you've been watching like Black Mirror, or you've been watching Stranger Things, or you've been watching even Orange is the New Black, man, these are great shows. Netflix has come out with a lot of original content that is fantastic. And if you love old movies, you'll like this stuff too. You know, you can move on. I've moved on, but yes, that old stuff, I'll buy it, man. I'll buy the Blu-ray. I'll update it. I'll get the next level, man.
No,
just to see
and I don't mind.
Features.
I'll watch it too. I'll be right there with you. But
I like
you
that.
will literally watch the same movie every night.
You're right. I will. Tonight, if somebody was like,
I'm
hey,
not the same. I won't do that.
If somebody was like, hey, guess what, Mitchell? Guess what we're watching tonight? We're watching T2 or T1. All right, cool. Let's watch it. Yeah, let's throw it on. You know, if we're watching a brand new movie, or we're watching Drive, or we're watching a bootleg version of the new Star Wars, cool, let's watch it. You know, but I will always enjoy a great old movie for what it is.
Right.
And even something as old from the 70s, 60s, you know, or 50s, doesn't matter, man. If it's a good movie, watch it, man. That's when people say, you memorize lines or you quote stuff. Today, I was like quoting Goodfellas. I watched that with you for the first time because I had the movie like, what, 2 weeks ago?
Yeah. And
he's like, hey, I'm resting. Hey, wait, you resting? Yeah, I'm resting. Yeah, bing, pow. You're like, wait, what's that movie from? I don't know what that's from. Oh, dude, that's freaking Goodfellas, man. It's like when Joe Pesci's like talking to some guy and he's like talking about killing some other dude because he was questioning him about just sleeping, you know. But other than that, look, movies are fun. If you like an old movie, there's nothing wrong with that. Watch it over and over again. If you really enjoy it, if it puts you to sleep, like, look, there's certain movies I'll put them on just because it's like a comfort. I'll go to bed. It's playing in the background. I don't care. And if you like watching these new movies on Netflix or whatever, you want to watch Eat, Pray, Love like Tommy, hey, go for it. That floats your boat. God bless you guys. It's been a fun podcast. I think we're gonna wrap it up now. We're over 2 hours, I think now.
Yeah,
almost 2 hours. Fun podcast. I feel like in the deepest and darkest of crevices, tonight was not supposed to happen. There was a lot behind the scenes that you guys did not see tonight. This podcast got stopped 2 or 3 times.
Yeah.
Tommy and I personally, we got in like 2 or 3 verbal fights today, and we still found a way because I knew the show must go on. The show must go on. You don't ever give up on the show. You still just look. You just do the podcast. It's the right thing to do. And even if you have your differences, man, you just do it.
You just
love each other. You love each other. Bust it out, man.
If you feel something, hey, your spouse,
got your passion. Look, if you throw in the towel, you're defeated. If you throw in the towel, dude, look, that's it, man. You know, like you can't work together. You can't be business partners. You can't just do a podcast. Whatever, man.
You just gotta work out. What you feel.
Yeah, and that's what I told. That's what we said. We actually did a high five. Like, what? Dude, we fought like 2 times today, but we still came together. We did the podcast.
I wouldn't call it fighting.
It was just we had our differences, and it's not what you were thinking earlier when we were like talking about Kevin. It was like something bigger behiing the scenes. But yeah, I love you, man.
Love you, buddy.
Let's take this podcast out now, man.
Mm-hmm.
So,
yeah.
We love you guys. Hey, don't forget, listen to us iTunes, Stitcher, Google Play. It's all there, man. Don't miss out. Tell your friends. Peace.
And if you don't, you're a loser.
Yeah, you are a loser. And you might die.